Hello and greetings. Today we'll be looking at a small form factor computer from Lenovo. This machine is part of Lenovo's Thinkcentre Tiny range, and it's also known as a ultra small form factor computer since it uses an external power supply or power brick. This machine is of the M93 range, which was released in late 2003 through to about 2015. And contains Intel's i3, i5 and i7 desktop processors of the T variety, which are their low TDP versions of their desktop CPUs. These were originally aimed at business and enterprise users as a power and space saving alternative to your full-size desktop machines. This particular model in front of me is one of their cheaper low-end versions. It contains an i3 4130T, 2.9 GHz, with a TDP of 35 watts, which is what makes these so low power and why they can make them so small. It also comes with 4GB of RAM, and this one came with a 60GB hard drive, well, SSD. Now, originally, from what I can tell, this machine would originally retail for about £400 or $500. So, it wasn't the cheapest i3 around, but you're paying the extra money for the small form factor and the low power. It comes with your standard set of ports on the back. We have power, we have a display port, 2 USB 3 ports, VGA out, and gigabit Ethernet, and a third USB 3 port. Now on the front, we have the power button, another set of USB 3 ports, and the audio out and microphone, which is odd because there isn't any on the back. These are the only audio ports. Now, I originally purchased this to become a Windows 10 machine to replace an aging Windows 7 machine. I am going to be upgrading it to an i5 and 8GB of RAM, and we're going to also put a new SSD in there as well. So let's get started. Now to start, to remove the casing, there's just one screw on the back. It's really quite simple to remove. Just unscrew it. Once removed, you're going to want to just slide it forward. Now the temptation is to slide it backwards, but that's not going to work. You're going to want to slide it forward. The whole case comes off. It's a bit of a fiddle because you have to slide just a little further than the actual USB ports. Have a little bit of trouble trying to remove it. Just give it a good wiggle. It will come off eventually. There we go. Now first, we're going to want to remove the hard drive. It's pretty simple, just the cable out. It's attached down here, small bit. We can just leave it there. Really, it's just splits off into 2 pieces. I wouldn't really worry about it. Just be careful not to damage it. Now next is just to remove the hard drive. Just one screw. So nice and simple again. Just quickly remove this, and then once you've done that, the whole assembly just slides to the right or upwards in this case. Just standard screw, nothing special. And the whole thing just slides nice and easy, and then comes out. Just your standard, well not so much standard, but pretty standard hard drive caddy. Screwed in from the bottom. Only comes with 2 screws, but doesn't really matter. It's only an SSD, but yeah, it's pretty straightforward and easy. This came with a 60GB SSD. Quite old now, but does the job. Nothing special, but yeah, does the job. I'll keep that for later. Now with the RAM, just one stick was in here, 4GB. Easy to pop out. Slide it out gently. And just a standard Samsung RAM, 4GB. Now to remove the, to get to the CPU, you want to remove all this assembly up here. First, carefully remove the fan. Try not to pull too hard on the cable, it should just come out. Now we want to be able to just remove all this. There's a speaker at the front and 4 screws. Well, there's 4 screws underneath, 2 and 3 for the fan, 2 there and 1 up there. There we go, remove that, and then 1 up there. And the whole thing should just pretty much slide out. So let's just quickly do that now. Now, as you can see, there's now exposed the chipset. No heatsink on it, which is a bit weird, but yeah, it's I suppose it's cool enough for a fan. Now, here is where the CPU socket is. There's 4 screws, 1 in each corner. Nice and easy to take out, and then the whole thing just slide out. There we go. There's our heat pipe and vent, nice and clean, so that's good. Just got to give it a clean now. Now next, let's remove the CPU. Pretty easy, just pull the handle, the whole thing comes up. To be gentle with it, and the CPU will just pop out. No force required. Just be careful not to bend the pins underneath. And yeah, the thermal grease is a bit dry. But not that it matters now, I'm not using it. Now, I want to install the new CPU. Just get it the right direction. There's these 2 notches that you need to follow, there and there. And then just pop it back down. Pretty easy. To make sure everything's nice and clean. This isn't so clean. Just give it a quick wipe. There we go. Bit of excess dust. Not really concerned, but yeah. And just pop it back down. I would say gently, but I'm a klutz. There we go. Put it down. Push the lever down. Need a bit of force, and there we go, down. Now, what we need to do is apply thermal grease. Magically appeared, and now we need to clean off the remaining thermal grease. Two-step process, clean it off and then purify what's left over. This stuff's just pretty much alcohol, so does the job nice and quick. So let's get this all cleaned up. Yeah, that was quite tough. That was really dried on. It's still stummed down here. Let's just get rid of that. And now we can put the whole thing back on, nice and clean. So it should all be good. Should keep the thing nice and cool, which is the idea. And then we'll just slide it back in and screw it all back into place. Just be careful when sliding it in not to damage anything. But yeah, in it goes. Down it goes, nice and gentle. There we go, nice and firm. Now, unlike me, you should remember to screw it back in. But yeah, let's give this fan a quick clean. There's a bit of dust in it. There we go. Nicely done. Now, back with the RAM. Let's get the RAM back in. Now, we're upgrading to 8 gig. So let's just pop the stick in. I've only got one stick. It's cheaper that way. This is a budget build after all. Just pop that back in. And that's that. Just need to now switch the hard drive over. There we go, all upgraded. Now let's see what this machine can do compared to what it was in there before. Got a few benchmarks, let's just see what we got. First up, we've got the SSD. Considering it's only what, £15 off eBay, I'm quite impressed. Write speed's not the best, but for what it costs, I'm well happy with that. I haven't got a comparison of the 60 gig because I forgot to check it. Took out the machine. Take it at face value, that's pretty good. CPU-Z benchmarks. Now, this is always a bit of a weird one because it's not that great, but as you can see, the i5 has, it's pushing quite ahead of the i3, even though they're clocked the same. Single threaded is better, and multi-threaded is better, which is to be expected. Obviously, if it's a real quad core, I'd expect it to be much more. But, for the price of the CPU, I'm quite happy with that. It will give a boost to the machine. Next, Dolphin benchmark. Not a common one used, but I like using it because it's quite intense on all parts of the machine. Pretty good, 9% increase. So you completed in 552 seconds as opposed to 607. Doesn't sound like a massive difference, but when you're running long tasks, the extra half a minute can make a difference. So that's pretty good. Next, we've got Portal. It was it was perfectly playable. All settings were on high, so you're not going to get a lot out of an integrated graphics card, especially one from Intel. But yeah, for playing older games, certainly works quite well. Perfectly playable. There's some tearing in this particular video, as you can see there, but that was mainly down to VSync being off, and I'm getting got some strange issues with this i3 regarding that. But turning VSync on would have fixed that. It's quite smooth. Let's just let this play out. Here it is, same test chamber on the i5, about the same frame rate, all on high, so yeah, there's no issues here. Now I have everyone's favourite, Crysis. Can it run Crysis? Well, not really. Especially on the i3. The i3 was tremendously bad. You can see really bad tearing, and throughout this whole bit here, I was unable to shoot straight. It looked like it was lined up, but because of the bad frame rate, I just could not shoot. I just tried shooting. No, normally you could take them out from that distance, but no, just as you can see, the frame rate is practically single digits here. It's just completely unplayable, but with no graphics card, can't really complain too much. I mean, I'm impressed it played that much. All settings are on low. Now, with the i5, the frame rate was also still quite low. There's quite a lot of tearing, so I'll just quickly knocked on VSync in a second, and it was more than playable. Well, I wouldn't say more than playable, much smoother. Yeah, lovely. Now this is much more playable. Frame rate was, I wouldn't say it wasn't much better, but it was just enough to make it much more playable. I would shoot straight, no problems at all. No jittering. I mean, perfectly playable. Well, when I first played Crysis, I played it on something like this, so yeah, you can just about do it. Not like anyone will be trying to play Crysis on a machine like this, but you know, you get the idea of what it's capable of. So really, these upgrades have given it quite a, well, decent boost. I mean, they haven't cost a lot, and from what it's going to be doing, which is basically going to be a general net top and email, it's well worth it. So, yeah, great budget machine. Cost about just over £100 in total, with all the changes and upgrades and selling off the old parts. Yeah, perfect machine. I'm more than happy with it, and the person it's going to will be more than happy with it as well. So, like with any YouTube video, if you enjoyed this, please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave a comment below. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.